Today's Reddit reading comes from r/mi the a-hole. Our first Reddit story comes from what I'm assuming is a throwaway account. It is user mobmus-buwmex7. Am I the asshole for giving my sister permission to bring a friend for an overnight stay in our house? My sister is taking a road trip with her female friend and asked if she and her friend could stay at my house for a quick rest before continuing their trip the next day. Like arriving at 9 p.m. and departing by 8 a.m. the following day. I've never met her friend, but I didn't think that this would be a big deal. My wife totally lost it and said it was irresponsible as we would have a stranger in our house with our 5-year-old sleeping upstairs with them, in separate rooms, of course. It's not that my sister isn't trustworthy. She just chooses to live her life in a different way than my wife does. I told my sister that it would be okay for her and her friend to stay overnight. Well, my wife is now incredibly pissed and wants me to rescind the invite or pay for a hotel room for them as she is not comfortable with a stranger in the house. I feel like she's overreacting, and I want her to have some trust in my sister that she won't put our family at risk. Am I the asshole? I feel like the inviting your sister over part is not what makes you the asshole. I feel like if you were to be the asshole, it would be because you have a wife and a kid. You didn't ask your wife first if someone could come over and, like, spend the night. I don't know, that's a little bit weird to me, just because, like, when I've had roommates in the past, even if it was just for, like, something small, if you were gonna have people stay over, you would usually at least give the other person, like, a heads up or, like, a, hey, can I do this thing? Are you busy? Are you doing something? Like, I don't know. I feel like that's just common courtesy, personally. What do you guys think? Our second story of the day comes from user AdventurousToe3610. Am I the asshole for telling my stepson to blame his mom because he didn't get to go to his dad's funeral? My late husband, William, had 2 children from 2 previous relationships. Alyssa, who's now 30, was from his first marriage. His first wife died when Alyssa was 5, and a few years later he had Logan, who's now 22, with his then-girlfriend, Brenda. It was a very short-lived relationship. By the time I married William, Brenda had moved Logan to London, where she was originally from. Logan would fly out to visit a couple of times a year, with William and I going over there as well. We were never super close given the distance. Alyssa and I did build a bond as we lived together full-time, and I ended up adopting her. William and I also had 2 children together. When Logan was 13 and Alyssa was 21, William was diagnosed with cancer. He deteriorated quickly. We both tried to pay for Logan to come out and say goodbye, but Brenda kept saying it wasn't a good time. Unfortunately, William passed before he had seen his son one last time. William's request was to be cremated and have the ashes spread at the end of his favorite trail. Once again, I insisted on paying for Brenda and Logan to come back to the States. Brenda kept putting it off. First saying she didn't want to disrupt the school year. But when summer came, she found excuse after excuse. Soon it was nearly a year, and there had been no celebration of life. Myself, Alyssa, and my 2 other kids, and the rest of William's family felt as though it wasn't fair to anyone. Finally, I gave Brenda a list of dates and told her to pick one. She did. But when it came time to actually booking tickets, she refused. When I said I'd pay, she suddenly found another excuse. Unable to wait any longer, we held the celebration of life. It was a beautiful day that I'll never forget. It finally helped me begin my grieving journey. Brenda was pissed after this and cut contact. Alyssa tried to make arrangements to visit, but Brenda wouldn't let her. Finally, when Logan was 18, he reached out to her and they rebuilt a relationship. Through her, he's also began talking to his other 2 siblings. Alyssa's visited him a few times. Last week, Logan came to the States. He was happy to see his younger siblings, but was very standoffish with me. At one point, Alyssa and the kids took Logan to the trail. When they returned, all of them were understandably emotional. I was comforting Alyssa when Logan snapped. He said it wasn't fair I had held the celebration without him and that he missed his dad's funeral. He started screaming at me that I was selfish not to wait. I told him that I understand why he's upset, but his mother is to blame. She's the one who refused to let him come out. Were we not supposed to have a funeral for 9 years? Logan got even more upset and left the house, getting a hotel. Alyssa agrees that we did nothing wrong by holding the service when we did, but thinks that I should have let Logan vent versus blaming his mom. Am I the asshole? I don't think that she's the asshole. Kind of like Sassy Piehole03 said in the comment section, what other choice did you have? Lying to him and apologizing for something you didn't do? He's an adult now, and this is a conversation he needs to be having with his mother, and you've just facilitated that, enabling it to take place. Yeah, I agree. It's not the poster's fault. It's not OP's fault that they had to have the funeral without this child, without Logan. It very much is the mother's fault for not allowing him to come over. I'm not really sure why that was the case, but I feel like in this scenario, it's Logan's mom who's the asshole. I'm not going to put any blame on this kid. Obviously, he probably didn't even know what was going on. He's probably been told that OP is the one who is doing shady things behind the scenes. And he's an angry kid who never got to say goodbye to his dad. That sucks. But I personally don't think that OP is the asshole, even if she could have said it a little bit nicer. And lastly, we have this story from user Apprehensive Travel 65. Am I the asshole for dropping out of the bridal party? I've been friends with Kay since about the 8th grade. I'm currently 33 and she's 34. Kay is a little quirky and hasn't kept many friends over the years, other than me. In 2018, she got engaged to her longtime boyfriend. Within a week, she asked me to be her maid of honor. I accepted. We would send each other inspo photos, and I agreed to help with her dreams for the wedding. I was with her when she picked her dress. Long story short, engagement number 1 didn't make it. A few vendors were booked, but they didn't get the point of the bridal shower or anything like that. I stuck by her, again, and supported the decision. Fast forward to February 2023, she's engaged. I met her fiancé for the first time in July. I heard plenty about him prior, we'd just never met. The day I met the fiancé, Kay told me they were adding another bridesmaid to the mix, M. M knows both Kay and her fiancé for about a year now, and M feels a lot like a younger sibling to Kay. Cool, no problem. Added to the list. In August, I was browsing ideas for a bachelorette party. I talked to my friend to verify the attendees, her cousins and M, and then received, "Oh, I've been meaning to talk to you about that." She proceeded to tell me that she didn't want me to feel less valued, so she asked if M and I could share the position. The message sounded like she had told me prior that M would be the maid of honor, but she hadn't. I scrolled through text to see if I was missing something, but I didn't. Then she told me that because I'm married and I have a toddler, she figured being maid of honor would be too overwhelming, so she didn't ask me. I was upset. I told her I would prefer to be a guest. I was hurt that she never had the decency to tell me the changes she'd made. I never talked to M. I never even knew she existed prior to July. Suddenly, I was expected to share a title with someone she's known a year, and apparently, I was the last to know about the title swap. Am I wrong that I thought I was the maid of honor since I was definitively in round 1? Shouldn't there have been a conversation to ask me if I thought I couldn't handle it? Am I overreacting? I was literally ready to put a deposit down for the bachelorette festivities. I have the pictures of the bridesmaids and their dresses on my phone with measurements and their contact numbers. I have pictures of the bride and her outfit and hair and makeup on my phone. Did I assume? Or would you have done the same? I was hurt, and I still am. After our misunderstanding, we didn't speak. She reached out in October asking to meet up. I dodged her. She texted a Merry Christmas, and I replied with similar civility. She said, "I miss you. I'm so sorry." I couldn't respond, and I still haven't. Today, I just received an invite to her bridal shower. Up to this point, I anticipated sending a gift, whether I was invited or not, as hope for the best wishes and closure, but I did not expect to receive an invite. I don't want to attend at all. Am I the asshole? Down in the comments, HappyBanana134 has this to say. You're the asshole. If I'm reading this correctly, she asked you to be her maid of honor for a wedding to a different fiancé in 2018. In 2023, she's engaged to a different man and did not ask you to be her maid of honor. She did not ask you to plan her bachelorette party. I'm not sure why you assumed you'd be maid of honor. It's a different wedding 5 years on. That said, once your friend realized you'd made this assumption, she actually tried to rectify it by changing her plans to have 2 maids of honor, you and M. You said no, your choice, but the fact is your friend tried to include you here, and you're the one who rejected that. So she's making an effort to message and invite you to things, but you've decided to ditch the entire friendship because you aren't the one and only maid of honor. That's your call, but it tells me you weren't that close anyway, and this likely is the reason that you aren't the maid of honor. I don't know about you guys and what you think about this, but I kind of agree with Happy Banana. It's 5 years and a lot can change in that time. And just because you don't know the person she's asking to be her maid of honor doesn't mean that she doesn't know them incredibly well. Also, the fact that you just assumed, you didn't ask, you didn't say, oh hey, am I the maid of honor again? You just started planning things without asking. And are the people from her last wedding, are the themes from her last wedding even going to be applicable? I don't know about that. Well, that's it for today's stories. What did you guys think? Do you agree with my opinions, or do you think someone that I thought wasn't or was an asshole is the other way around? William's request was to be cremated and have the ashes to come over to the States. Alyssa visited him. Am I the asshole? What? What? Huh? We'll see you next time. Bunnies.